want a lawn that looks...
I think it's crazy I'm the one who they labeled as controversial, and Cardi B is the role model for 12-year-old girls. There's rappers pushing Xanax at the top of the billboard, but if I mention race in a song, I'm scared I'll get killed for it. It's backwards, it's getting exponentially dumb. It's more difficult to get a job than purchase a gun. Eminem used to gay bash and murder his mom, and now he doesn't want fans if they voted for Trump. We're ashamed to be American. You should probably love it, because you have the right to hate it and not get stoned to death in public. As children, we were taught how to walk.
All right, ready to go.
All right. Can barely hear you, but
hopefully that changes.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Smack Talk Live. I'm Coach Lone Wolf, and an interesting week in sports. I would have to say, Lone Wolf.
Yes, definitely.
Very, very interesting indeed, especially even all the way through today. Just some of the free agent moves, I shouldn't say free agent moves, roster moves teams have made, and then reactions, especially to Packer fans.
Mm-hmm.
They need to relax.
I mean, the biggest thing that stands out to me, Coach, is the Packers didn't use the franchise tag on Aaron Jones.
I can't hear you, Lone Wolf. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you, yeah.
Let me see what's going on. Hold on here a second, everybody. I cannot hear our co-host, and this is why. All right. Come on here. Why the heck? What is going on here? Cancel that. Oh, okay. That's still playing. All right. Can you hear me, Lone Wolf?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
I'm in the Dells, and there's so many Bluetooth things going on here that my computer connected to something in like another part of the villa. So yeah. All
right. So we figured that out. We're good now. Yeah.
I was like, what's going on? So, anyways.
Right. So what I was saying is, I think, yeah, you were right. The Aaron Jones thing, when the Packers didn't use the franchise tag on him, all of a sudden, people were losing their minds. Like, I can't believe they do that. And a lot of the talking heads are like, why are they not using the franchise tag on him? And this is unbelievable. He's so talented, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and going on and on and on about it.
Right. And the big thing for me here is people are saying that they need a new general manager. Because when Ted Thompson was here, we were never in cap problems. We were in cap problems, and that's why they didn't go after and sign people.
Right. I mean, Ted Thompson, as a general rule, didn't go out and get free agents anyway. But, yeah, I mean, if they had a cap problem, he wasn't running out there and signing free agents.
Well, because he couldn't. He couldn't. I mean,
right. No, he couldn't. Yeah.
Look at the people he signed. They never. Who's one free agent that he brought in that turned out to be any good? Charles Woodson? One?
Yeah, I think that's probably it. Yeah.
And that was kind of a no-brainer. I mean, he was already proven.
Right. So yeah, we got a question here from a listener about the Matt Milano signing, and I don't know if you saw this or not, Coach, but the Bills had agreed to a contract extension with Matt Milano, one of their linebackers.
Yeah, I did see that. I mean, that was a no-brainer.
I think so too. Yeah.
If you are in the NFC, not NFC, it's just a conference championship game, you have salary to re-sign your guys, you re-sign them.
Yeah.
They fit your system, even if they're not considered a best at the position, which he is one of the better linebackers in the game.
He is. Yeah.
You sign him. Now you look at Aaron Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Not worth the money he's offered. You look at some of the rumored contract offers that he has out there, the Packers can actually give him a higher dollar amount in the salary cap, but their guaranteed number is less. And I'm sorry, he's not worth that much. He's not going to do well in another system, and I'm okay with him walking. I'm okay even having them let Lindsley walk.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
It's just one of those things. So, but as for freaking out, they're going to create cap space. They just haven't announced it yet. They don't make the discussions public, and that's one thing I kind of like about Goodenson. I don't even know how to say his name.
Gutekunst, I think. Yeah.
Is that he doesn't go out there and put all these rumors out there.
Yeah.
It's just he goes about his business.
Yeah, and so the listener we got wanted to call in. I don't know if I just told him if he hit the button, he should be able to call in. He wanted to talk about the Bills a little bit more. If that's all right, I think we got. You've been hitting it. Okay, I don't know I don't know how to do that. I mean, usually I just hit the call in button and I call in. So.
Yeah. We have to once we get to the Bills. There's a few other things I want to hit on before we talk.
Okay, all right, and then we can get to them. Yep, that's yep, all right.
But then we can get to the Bills in just a little bit. But creating the cap space is going to happen. They're going to restructure and extend Aaron Rodgers. There's probably 3 or 4 other contracts they're going to restructure / extend. So in that, I think too, they're gonna go to Preston Smith and say a couple things are happening. We're either gonna trade you,
right,
cut you, or you can restructure your contract.
Right.
And I think Dean Lowry's gone. That'll save them about $4 million.
I think that's a no-brainer. Yeah.
Give us about 5-10 minutes, Brandon, and we can get to the Bills because there's some things I want to get to, and plus a couple interesting signings that just happened today of re-signings of teams. It wasn't free agent signings, but anyways. So when you look at it, they can create up to $25 million in cap space just by restructuring contracts. So
and some teams are in that position, and some teams aren't in that position.
Right.
And like earlier, you saw the Saints had cut a few people, like Emmanuel Sanders.
The Saints are in full fire.
And they are. They're
fire
they got to
mode.
clear a lot of cap.
They are cutting people right and left.
Spot. Yep.
And they had to. We talked about last week that they were $60 million over the cap. And yep, we're gonna get on Dak here in just a second.
Yep.
A second. So yeah, the Saints aren't done. They have to continue to cut people. This unfortunately, Saints fans, you're not gonna be any good next year.
No, they're not.
You're just not.
You're just so many people, and Drew Brees can say whatever he wants, but I really don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, and
I don't think he is.
And you look at Green Bay fans say, "Oh, we're $9 million." Yeah, you're $9 million over. The one thing I read, somebody said, "Well, they can be over the cap and just pay it." No, you can't. If you're over the cap, there's penalties. There's automatically a $5 million penalty for each date that the league has set where you have to be a certain cap number. There's a $5 million penalty. then the league can go in and void contracts to get you under. So if the NFL if the Packers said screw the cap, we don't care.
Yeah.
The league could come and say, fine, we're voiding Aaron Rodgers' contract. He's now a free agent. They could do that. It's in this.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if they will, but I mean, they can do that. Yes.
And yeah, they wouldn't do that, but they basically say, tell the Packers you have to cut somebody. And the Packers would get penalized draft picks. So you can't just sit there and say, oh, it's not like the NBA where you have the luxury tax. That's not the system the NFL has. Right. So, but anyways, moving on to, Brandon, Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is not going to make it. I sure hope that was a joke.
Brandon, no.
I sure hope that was a joke. But anyways.
Because I mean, the guy's he's not any good.
Dak Prescott
interceptions or whatever. Yeah, so
the Dak Prescott signing. Does he deserve it?
What's that?
Does he deserve it?
Is that what you said?
I don't know if he deserves that much. I understand why. They could have probably saved money if they would have signed him a year ago.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And at the same time here, that is not going to make that team a contender.
No.
You have many more issues on the team. You don't have an offensive line anymore that can block. You have a defense that is horrid. And you have a head coach that is more worried about where he's going to get his next cheeseburger from than coaching football. I'm sorry, there's a reason we call him Mike McCheeseburger.
The game has passed him by. I mean, we saw it in Green Bay. We were happy to let him go.
Yeah.
In Green Bay, he overstayed his welcome. I think he got to a point where it just wasn't working anymore, and it was a disaster. Now, I understand Dak was injured. Even Andy Dalton was injured for a while last year, but the whole thing just fell apart, and their defense was atrocious. So, I think this. I mean, if you're the Cowboys, you had to re-sign Dak because, is he a top 10 quarterback? Is he a top 15 quarterback? Well, he's a top quarterback in the league, and he puts up a lot of statistics, but you overpaid for him because you signed him this 1-year deal, and then you basically kept putting off negotiations for whatever reason. Jerry Jones does this kind of stuff, and it made no sense. The longer it went, the more Dak was going to get, and he ended up getting paid because Dallas kept prolonging this,
right.
and then they end up paying him way too much. And yeah, you're right. They're going to have a lot of problems being able to do it. Yeah, I mean, I look at that list, that Mahomes, Rodgers, Wilson. He's not one of those guys that's at the very, very top. But Dallas allowed this to go on to the point where they paid him as if he was one of those top 5 guys.
Rodgers, well, I'll tell you what, though. Looking at the list here that Brandon put up, Mahomes, Rodgers, Wilson, Allen, Brady, Stafford, Kyler, Baker, Lamar, Burrow. I'll take Dak Prescott over Ben, over Burrow, over Baker, over Kyler, and over Brady. Talent-wise. Leadership-wise, Brady, yes. Talent-wise, no. I think Dak is
at the tail end of his career, yeah.
Right.
Age-wise, yeah.
But you look at the just pure ability. I don't like Joe Burrow more than Dak Prescott. I don't like Baker Mayfield more than Dak Prescott. I don't think I still don't like Joe Burrow. I don't care what he did. He is
well, and it's kind of hard to say now. I mean, he was injured last year. Their team was awful, so it's hard to say. Yeah.
I will still say Justin Herbert's going to be the best quarterback out of that draft class. And I made those comments last year during our draft preview.
Yeah, we said that same thing. Yeah, we were sticking with Herbert, really. Yeah.
Brandon, I'm just going to say this. For me, the jury is in on Baker Mayfield. He's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's a nice quarterback. He'll get you to the playoffs if he has complementary pieces around him.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't have that, he cannot take players and make them better like an Aaron Rodgers can or a Tom Brady can. He can't do that, and he's not going to do that. Yeah, but Eli and Baker. Here's the thing. We're getting a little off the topic, but we'll talk about it. Eli versus Baker Mayfield argument. Eli had a great defense. He made that offense better. Baker Mayfield, I don't think made the Browns offense any better. They had an absolute unstoppable run game. You take that run game out of Cleveland, they don't make the playoffs. Period. Eli Manning, I would take, you take Eli at his prime. I'll take him over Baker Mayfield.
I think the biggest thing about Eli that I would say is in the playoffs, for whatever reason, he was phenomenal.
He looked better than Peyton did.
Right, he did. Now in the regular season, he was way more up and down. And I know you were talking about Baker about flashes of brilliance and bust, but Eli Manning was still kind of the same way during the regular season. But in the playoffs, I mean that pass to Mario Manningham, the David Tyree catch. I mean these things are Eli Manning was just phenomenal in the postseason in all of those games that he played. So for some reason, he just was. I don't know why. I don't know what it was, but when he got in the postseason, he just became great. So, no, as overall as a quarterback, I agree. Yeah,
but when you look at playoff performances,
right?
Eli had, I think, a more extensive playoffs like statistical success than Peyton. Right. Peyton Manning had to go to Denver and basically all they needed was a quarterback in there that could make a few passes here and there to win that Super Bowl that year.
Right. That defense was great.
Yeah. Eli Manning didn't have to go anywhere to get his second ring. He got his ring with his team. Just saying. I'm not saying he's a better quarterback than Peyton was.
Yeah, and it's funny.
But if we want to have the debate,
Eli defeated Brady.
Right, and he did, but Eli did beat a undefeated Patriots team.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So, anyways, back to Dak Prescott because that's
Dak.
We're way off topic here. I don't think that the Cowboys are anywhere close to winning the Super Bowl. With that signing of Dak Prescott, I just don't think they're there yet. So
I look at it this way: from the team standpoint, it hurts them; they don't get better. From a Dak standpoint, he got paid and he got what he deserved because he was just telling them the whole time, "I want to get paid. I want to get paid." And they hurt themselves by putting themselves in a position where they had to overpay for him. So.
Right. Okay. Real quick here before we get to Brandon and the Bills, a couple of interesting moves. The Bears extend their kicker 3 years. Is it 3 years, $16 million?
Yeah.
No, 5 years, $16 million. So you're paying your kicker over $3 million a year for one season. Good job, Chicago.
That's wonderful. Good work, Chicago.
So I found that interesting. The biggest story here, I saw this morning. The Chiefs are not going to the Super Bowl next year. And I'm telling you this right now. They released both Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. Both their starting tackles they released today.
Wow.
The Chiefs are not going to the Super Bowl. That brings them back to the pack. They're going to find out that just because you have Patrick Mahomes doesn't mean you can just throw anybody else out there
Oh yeah.
and be the best. The Packers found that out the hard way with Favre at the end of his career in Green Bay,
Right.
and then those last couple years with Mike McCarthy. You can't just put your quarterback out there with a bunch of street people and be good. It doesn't work. So Kansas City is going to find this out the hard way.
They are. Yeah, you got to have an offensive line. And the last time I checked, didn't they get destroyed in the Super Bowl? Yes, they had some injuries along the offensive line, but that was Patrick Mahomes getting sacked and beat and hit every 2 seconds in that Super Bowl.
And I called this out after they gave Mahomes that contract extension.
Right.
They only had a couple of years, and they're going to be in cap trouble.
Yeah.
That happened.
You're right, and that's where they're heading towards right now, and that's where they're kind of at already. I mean, they're starting to see it.
Yeah, when they made these moves this morning, they had to clear $20 million. I'm not sure what they have to clear now. So again, people, we're from Wisconsin, so we talk about the Packers a lot, but they complain that the Packers have to clear $9 million. $9 million is like one person. You cut Preston Smith,
right,
and doesn't have a post June 1st cut. You're under the cap.
Right, exactly, yeah, and they'll be able to do that, or they cut Lowry and somebody else maybe, or they restructure a couple and they cut one guy and they'll be fine.
Yeah,
totally fine.
So found that to be the most interesting move of the day. Again, the Saints, they cut Jenkins, a corner. They're just in shambles there.
They're just getting. I mean, these first few cuts and who they're letting walk and all this stuff, they're just starting. They're getting ramped up. They're going to be cutting a lot more people. So
they're just getting started there.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long road.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to be pretty bad next year.
So, let's see here. Let's see here. All right. Let's see here. So, Brandon, if you want to call in, we got about a couple minutes because we got some other things we need to talk about.
We'll get on the Bills here for 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Bills. You're saying that they are going to the Super Bowl. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Welcome, Brandon. How are you doing tonight?
Not too bad, guys. What's going on?
Not much.
Yeah, here.
We have 5-6 days before free agency officially starts. We know that there's already teams making contract deals. The Texans agreed with Mark Ingram and principal on the contract, which big deal. Texans are going to stink. But anyways,
so you want to talk Bills? Yeah.
You want to talk the Bills?
Yeah, I was, as far as last year, guys, give you some background. My earliest football memory, I've been a Bills fan since I was a young child. My earliest memory is the Music City Miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, I remember watching that game.
This was the first year that I'm like, we're making some noise. And even I knew after we won the first 2 rounds and we went up against KC, as a Bills fan, I was just happy to be there. And I think the Bills were kind of in the same spot. Like, they're just happy to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
we got killed.
I think there were a couple plays in that game that could have changed the outcome. I think the bigger issue was I don't think the Chiefs should have even been in that game. There were some calls in the divisional round that I think the Chiefs should have lost, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, the Bills. I was really happy about the Bills and for the fans there because Lone Wolf and myself, we remember the Jim Kelly days when they went to 4 straight Super Bowls and all that stuff. We were middle school, high school.
That was the early '90s. So,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah, those teams, you remember them quite well, Thurman Thomas and,
So 89 through 92 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. In my biggest memory of that run that they had was, and I don't know if it was, I think it was the last Super Bowl that they made. The big comeback win in the playoffs when Frank Reich was playing.
Yeah.
That was watching that game. That was an awesome game to watch.
We down to 35-3 or something at halftime and came back and won.
Yep, that's a great playoff game. That's probably one of the most entertaining games that I remember ever watching.
If you're feeling nostalgic, that full game is up on YouTube. You can watch it right now.
I watch a lot of film because I also coach, so.
I think I actually saw that game a couple of years ago again on one of the ESPN stations or something. They were going through a bunch of NFL games or something. So
yeah,
I think
I know.
Go ahead.
So I know I don't have a lot of time, so I just wanted to say what I wanted to call on it from the beginning.
Oh,
I think any Bills fan that would tell you, like, from the off season, like, step one would be cut John Brown, and step two was try to re-sign Matt Milano. We've done 1 and 2. So, like, Bills fans are super happy right now.
Well, I thought I saw something that they cut. Was it Josh Brown?
John Brown, yeah.
I thought they cut him. They released him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was that was a good thing. We wanted that to happen.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, and I think that's a good thing for both the Bills and him.
We got a kid, Gabriel Davis, who we drafted 4th round last year, who stepped up when Brown was out a few games last year, and he looked very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like what the Bills are doing.
I mean, we both last year
we picked them to go to the Super Bowl.
We picked them to be in the Super Bowl, so we were big believers in what the Bills were doing, and we really wanted to see them in the Super Bowl. I mean, it might have been a little early yet. Maybe that was it was a little early for them. Like you said, maybe they just kind of were happy to be there, and they weren't quite there. Like, they've been building this program, but yeah, we both really thought they would, and they have to be one of the front runners to make the Super Bowl out of the AFC this year. I think they are.
Yeah, and
last season I was worried about the Colts, and then I was not concerned whatsoever about the Ravens. I knew we were going to win that game.
Right.
Yeah.
And then once we got to the AFC Championship, it was like, okay, we've made our mark. Like, we're probably not going to beat this team, but
yeah, and I think you looking back at last year, I think getting to where they got, I think as the season progressed, I think that was kind of the barometer, is that if they could get the AFC Championship game, they really made strides, and they did that. Now the expectation, it's going to be interesting to see if they can maintain and take that next step, because now the expectation's there. It's different. Again, myself and Lone Wolf went through this. We grew up until Brett Favre came to town. A 6-10 season was good.
Right,
we were ecstatic.
Green Bay for a while, yeah.
But once Brett Favre came to town and they were in the playoffs, winning the division, winning a Super Bowl, your expectations, not just as a fan, because again, Lone Wolf's more of the fan perspective. I'm more of the front office team dynamic perspective, is that your expectations change and you expect that level, if not better, all the time. And obviously, it'll be.
I know Packers fans appreciate this, but you've had 26 years of Favre and then Rodgers.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've had no quarterbacks until Josh Allen this year that was worth a damn.
Right.
But just remember this: you haven't had the worst luck at quarterback. The Browns have been pretty bad, and so have the Bears.
I think the only reason the Bills don't get that fucking designation is because the Browns were so bad.
Right.
Yeah. Because my brother also has a show, and like 2 years ago, I went on the show because they were talking about, is when this was, man, more than 2 years ago. This is when Rodgers first started really breaking on to being that elite quarterback. And we were talking about starting quarterbacks, and like in the span that Favre and Rodgers played, the Packers had like 3 or 4 because there was a couple of games that that were missed in there, and the Browns had like 26. It was unreal.
Crazy.
So
I'll tell you quickly, not to bore you guys, but I remember the first NFL draft I ever watched. I was 12 years old, and I remember watching Aaron Rodgers in 04 just sit and sit and sit and sit and sit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And since I was that age, I'm like, I just want to see this guy prove everybody wrong, and he absolutely has.
Oh
yeah, and it's funny because I as I'm reading more and more about the whole Rodgers Jordan Love thing, I strongly believe Jordan Love will not be in Green Bay past his rookie contract. I think that was totally a move to see how Aaron Rodgers was going to respond, to see whether they wanted to give him an extension on his 100%. Contract.
I think they knew we drafted a quarterback, and this guy's going to come out and win the MVP.
Right, yeah, and it was, if he's either going to do one of two things, he's either going to come out, show that he still has it, or he's going to sit here and pout about it, stink, and then we're going to trade him, and then we'll just rebuild. So
did you guys watch any of him when he was on Pat McAfee every Tuesday all season? Did you guys see any of that?
I watched clips of it. I'm not a big Pat McAfee fan. I think I don't know. He rubs me the wrong way, just like Jay Williams does.
So. I'm not a huge McAfee guy, but I watched like 40 minutes of Aaron Rodgers every week all season, and it really gave me a bit of insight on like who he is.
Yeah,
he's a really cerebral guy too. I mean, he really reads a lot of what's going on, and I think what was cool about it this season is you didn't have a lot of fans, so when he comes up to the line, you see all of the things and the signals and what he's calling out at the line, and he's changing so many different things that you got a real appreciation for what he actually could do. And sometimes you'd actually have a football announcer that would know what was going on, and they're like, look at this, and this, he's changing this, and he's doing this all at the line. And then the defense would say something, and then he'd switch something again. It's like you actually get to see how good he is. You get to hear how good he is when he steps up to the line.
This is the last thing I'll say because I know it took up a lot of your time, so I'll leave with this. My roommate, not a huge football fan, but his dad is a massive Packers fan, so he like always has like a bit of a soft spot and like watches the Packers a bit.
Okay.
I showed him week 1 of that Pat McAfee Aaron Rodgers interview.
Oh, yeah.
And as someone that doesn't really care about football, every Tuesday he'd be like, "Yeah, can we watch McAfee? Can we watch McAfee?"
That's awesome.
Well,
just to my point for that, it's like he's reaching people that probably don't really care that much about football, or like he's probably reaching a whole bigger fan base than he would have if he didn't do stuff like that.
I mean, and you look at this, he's has a guest host spot for Jeopardy. So the dude's smart. He's not love Brett Favre to death. Brett Favre was kind of a buffoon. He wasn't very bright. I mean, I don't know if you were ever out with me and like my sister and that group on Green Bay when we ran into those guys a couple of times.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Oh my Lord, the things that they were doing. Holy cow, we can't talk about it on the radio, but
no.
I mean, things got kind of crazy in downtown Green Bay when they were in their prime, before they had families and stuff. So
I don't think anyone has ever said things got crazy in downtown Green Bay.
Well,
it got like, especially
you ain't never seen Wisconsin on a Friday night, boy. Let me tell you.
Not Green Bay during the football season. Whew.
Yeah,
it was.
But
yeah, so just to wrap up here with the Bills real quick, Brandon. You look at this. I just looked at their cap number. They still got, and I don't know if this is updated with this new
Milano.
contract yet. It says they have what 19.5 million in cap space. I'm not sure if that's reflected yet on here.
I don't think so. Milano got 444.
So they'll still have around 14 million. So they still have some space to sign some guys.
Right. I think that's great. I mean, they're in a great position, and if they can keep the core intact and maybe add a free agent here or there, they're in great shape.
Good. I'll tell you right now that
I think we need a tight end. A tight end would be huge for our offense.
Yeah, that would definitely help. But if you look at the AFC landscape, nobody in the AFC East is going to be a threat. I think the Dolphins are going to regress. I think they're going to
unless they make a change of quarterback.
I disagree 100%. I disagree 100%.
You like Tua?
What I've seen of him, I think he shows flashes, and as a rookie, like that's kind of what I'm looking for.
I see a guy running around just trying to play like he's in college still, and I was not a big Tua fan when he was in college.
He's probably third on my list, like Herbert, Burrow, and then Tua. But I could see him. I can see him being something.
But I can tell you right now, the Dolphins can come out and sit here and say, "Oh, we support Tua," but there are closed door conversations about how they get Deshaun Watson in town. Now, if they get Deshaun Watson, now the Bills might be concerned because that's a good team. They need a quarterback. The problem with the Dolphins is if you sit here and develop Tua, it's going to take 3-4 years for him to get up to speed. And by then, that outstanding defense you built is old.
You want to get paid.
Right. So
and they brought in a ton of free agents last year.
It's not
I don't know how long all those contracts are, but
it's not like they're all young guys on the Dolphins anymore.
No, right.
So
I will say what did show something for me is the Week 17 Bills Dolphins. At halftime, the Bills had clinched their spot. They had nothing to play for. Backup quarterback goes in. Backup defense goes in. Like nobody played that second half, and we won like 56-24 or something stupid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then you go to the AFC North. The Steelers, they'll be about 9-7. Big Ben's done. They're just retired. The Ravens will be good. The Browns will be okay. I don't think they'll be as good. They're not going to surprise people, and they're going to have a much tougher schedule this year because that's the great thing about the NFL, and that's why there's parity. Is that your schedule, your strength of schedule goes off of your last year's record. So the better you are, the harder the schedule you have. You go to AFC South. The Colts are going to be good because of the defense. The question mark is, can Carson Wentz play at a high level? If he does, that they're going to be tough to beat. But if he doesn't, they'll get to be the same as they were last year. There's no, the Titans will be okay. But other than that, that's it. And then you go to the AFC.
Real quick before I jump out, what's your Super Bowl prediction for next year?
Oh, geez.
I got Bills Rams.
Oh, that's so early.
I like the Bills pick, and that's probably who, especially after today with the Chiefs cutting their 2 starting offensive tackles,
right,
that are Pro Bowlers.
Early, even before the draft and everything. I'll say this though: if I had to pick today, I would go with the Bills too. But on the NFC side, I'd go Packers.
I'd go Packers. Yeah. I like what the Rams did with getting Matt Stafford. They still need to fix their receiving core. They don't have the dynamic offensive playmakers. Yeah. That's the issue I have with the Rams.
I have a soft spot for the Packers. I pick them every year, and they never fucking get there.
One of these years, they're going to get there.
One of these times, they're going to break through 2 NFC Championship games in a row here. We got to have.
But you can't.
I don't know. Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit last week on the show. Is that in the NFC, there's 3 teams. There are 3 teams that have a chance to go to Super Bowl in the NFC. and that's the Rams, the Packers, and the Bucks.
Right.
Those 3 teams. Other than that, everybody else is going to be okay. There's not going to be,
there's too many question marks surrounding every other team, I think. Yeah.
I can also never cut out Russell Wilson.
The issue I have there is they can sit there and say Russell's happy. We're not. That thing.
Clearly he's not happy.
That thing's going south fast.
It is. It really is. And I mean, I agree with you, Brandon. I never want to count out Russell Wilson. I love the guy. He's a great player, but is he still going to be in Seattle? I originally thought there's no way that ever trade him. Oh, I think we lost Brandon.
He might have dipped out. So we'll
okay. All right. Well, that's all right. So we'll keep going. Yep, that's fine. Yep. So, yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I never count him out. I mean, the guy's a great player, but when we talk about free agency, Coach, or getting traded, I wonder whether he's going to still be in Seattle. This relationship has soured horribly.
Yeah, one of the things, and the rumors right now, there's 2 teams that are really rumored with Russell Wilson right now, and that is the Raiders and the Bears. And supposedly the Bears are willing to throw whatever they have to get either Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, including Khalil Mack.
Oh boy! Oh.
So what you're telling me is you're going to trade probably the best middle linebacker in the game for a quarterback, which, yes, I get it. So you're going to basically wreck your defense to fix your offense. I don't get what Chicago's doing. The GM should have been fired a year ago.
Right, and the coach we both thought should have been too. I mean, they made the postseason, so somehow that saved them their jobs. But I look at this and I think he's going to destroy everything he can with this franchise. I mean, they're so quarterback desperate, and he's made so many bad quarterback moves. How many more does he need to make? Now, granted, if you bring in a guy of that caliber, that's great, but I was just talking to my dad. He knows a lot of people in Chicago because he used to work with them at his job. And he was talking to somebody there, and they're really worried about what's going to happen if they do go after somebody like Wilson. And this is what I said, and this is what I think will happen. They're going to give away everything they possibly can, as many draft picks as they can, and they're even talking about, like you just said, throwing in Khalil Mack. So they're going to sacrifice their defense and their entire future by throwing away all these draft picks just to get a quarterback. And that improves their offense, sure. But
until his contract's up, because he's not going to re-sign with them. Chicago is not on Russell Wilson's list of teams he wants to go play for.
No.
Who would want to go play for the Chicago Bears right now? You don't have a running back. You just franchise tagged Allen Robinson at receiving. Right. You didn't transition tag him. You franchise tagged him.
Yeah, they franchised him. Yeah.
So you're saying he's one of the best 4 receivers in the league.
Right.
Okay, if he was one of the top 4 receivers in the league, I don't care who you have a quarterback, your offense is going to be average. And they're not. Their offense
was terrible.
So, yeah.
And don't get me wrong, he's a good receiver, but you don't franchise tag a guy like that. I look at them, and the GM is just ruining the situation there, and he needs to go. What they really need, is a culture change. And I'm not a Bears fan, neither one of us are, but from a standpoint of trying to be objective about it.
Right, yeah. And that's saying that's why it's like looking at it from a GM perspective.
Right. They need a culture change there. And Chicago, those fans are passionate about their sports. They want to see a winning product. And right now, if I was a fan in Chicago, I would just be losing my mind over
you franchise tag down Robinson, who has been critical of the organization all last year, and then you go and sign your kicker after one good season. Yeah.
So far, so good, right?
And you still have Nick Foles as your quarterback
right now. Yep. I mean, you could, Trubisky's a free agent. You could re-sign him if you really wanted to.
The Bears, Vikings, and Lions, the gifts that keeps on giving for Packers fans.
Right. It really is true. It's really true.
I mean, thank God they're in the NFC North, because if the Packers are in the NFC South, they might have a hard time making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Jesus. Anyways, that's about it for free agency this week. We talked about the JJ Watt fallout last week. So don't want to go get too.
Don't want to dwell on that anymore.
Dwell on that. It is what it is.
Yep.
We next week's show we'll probably have a ton of free agent stuff to talk about, because I mean, let's be honest. As soon as Monday hits, there people are going to have. There's already. I'll tell you right now. Aaron Jones knows where he's signing. Already, they already have the deal in place. It's probably going to be the Dolphins, and he's going to stink.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But anyway.
Well, and they I don't know. The Dolphins, to me, I think you were right. We were talking about this earlier. I think they're one of those teams that will probably regress. I'm not so.
And they're your team. They're your AFC team.
I know they are. I mean, I like the coach. It's just he's not the general manager, so when it comes to these decisions, he's not making them. But they just cut Van Noy. They cut Kyle Van Noy.
Yep.
After having him there and signing him to this huge deal. I don't remember him playing horribly, so I don't know exactly quite why that was. I think it was probably a cap casualty, but
but they didn't need to. Lone Wolf, they're $33 million under the cap.
And I don't know why. Why do you do that? I mean, maybe there was some issues there. I don't know. I'm just looking at it. They tried to trade him. Like I don't know how that whole thing fell apart, but
so that's the thing.
Some of these things,
That's why I look at this, and you look at these teams that have the cap space. Why are you cutting players?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you need more cap space because you want to bring in a huge free agent. I don't know.
The two teams in the AFC, I mean, the Colts are sitting really nice. The Colts are sitting there at $46 million under the cap.
Yeah.
But they do have some key guys coming up next year that they're going to need to extend probably. But I'll tell you right now, the two teams that could make a big jump, Jaguars aren't going to, even though they have like almost $100 million in cap space. They're just they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they tagged their offensive lineman, I think. Yeah. That was definitely a surprise to everybody in football. So
but the two teams that could make noise, that have a ton of cap space, are, and you got to give it to them if they can get back in the playoffs this year. You got to give it to this guy. Are the New England Patriots with $68 million? Belichick is just drooling right now because he can basically go get whoever he wants.
Well, there are so many, and that was the other thing I was going to say about.
There's a ton of good players out there.
Tons of good players out there because all these teams over the cap, they got to cut people. He can get any free agent he wants.
Right, and then the New York Jets. My man Robert Saleh is going to put together one heck of a defense with all these free agents that are getting right now. Unbelievable. I'm not saying the Jets are going to make the playoffs, but I'd be surprised if they don't win at least 6 games.
Well, and I'll tell you, that's one of the other reasons you look at it, Coach, and you see the Dolphins regressing. So the Patriots weren't very good last year for a variety of reasons. One of the biggest ones was not really having a steady quarterback the whole season. And then the Jets were so terribly awful that they shouldn't even walked out on the field. I mean, maybe their coach shouldn't have. I don't know. They probably could have just coached themselves and done better. But no disrespect to the players. I mean, they're just they were bad. So they're going to be a lot better, and so will the Patriots. They'll maybe right the ship a little bit, and then the Bills are going to be really, really good again. So Yeah, Miami's going to have a tough out in that division.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
All right. So moving on here, real quick, get your thoughts on the Duke Blue Devils are done. Their season is over because of COVID. They've had quite a rough year.
They have,
of it. Just first time in our lifetime, I think, that Duke has not made the NCAA tournament.
And I want to say that one year they didn't, though. I'm almost positive that one of these years they didn't. And we've been alive for over 40 years, so I'm trying to think. There's got to be one in there. I think that they didn't make it to the NCAA tournament, but
let's find out.
I'm struggling right now to remember, but I think they had. So, but either way, I mean, this whole college basketball season has been, and we talked about this a couple shows ago, I think, has been marred by
1995.
Okay, see, yeah, I knew there was one in there.
But that was when Coach K missed most of the season because he couldn't coach because of a lower back disc issue. So, I mean, still missed it, but so one time in the last 43 years.
Yeah, that's
pretty good.
They're just kind of a tournament regular. Yeah.
Well,
they didn't do enough to get in. So.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing, that they opted out of the ACC tournament because of this. Now, the NCAA, and I don't know how you can even make this. If I had audio of this would have been the Beavis comment of the week. The NCAA came on and said a team only needs 5 eligible players to play in the NCAA tournament.
Oh my God.
Really? Players aren't supposed to come off the court at all.
Yep, you need 5 eligible players. So here you go, guys. You're wearing a mask and you're going to play the whole game.
No, they don't have to wear.
No, they don't wear masks. So they don't wear masks. The high school kids did. The college kids don't wear masks.
But see, that's part of the problem why there's still COVID issues at the college levels, because you don't have to wear the mask unless you're off the court.
Right.
And they don't even really enforce it off the court.
And honestly, I think that was one of the issues with Duke. And you could see Coach K's comments. Remember, we talked about this at the beginning of the season, and he was talking about games and how this thing was going to work out. And then the Alabama coach kind of called him out. Nate Oates called him out and said, you're losing games. That's why you're complaining about it, blah, blah.
Well,
but he was really concerned about the COVID issue. So I think that really hurt Duke this season.
And we've talked about how this has impacted not just certain teams, but all of college basketball, with having the imbalance of games being played. Certain areas getting hit harder than others. It's just.
And what I worry about with the tournament this year is I look for a way that the NCAA can screw this up. And I say that because how many times have we talked about this? The NCAA just seems to find a way to make things worse. And they really, I don't even know if they try. They just do, and I think what they need to do is they need to have a region, and you just have the teams in that region and play all of your games in that region. Normally, the first 2 rounds are somewhere, and then they go to another site and they play their games in that next site. No. You have all the games up until the Final Four played in the same site. And then you limit the exposure. Kids aren't jumping around. Teams aren't moving from one spot to the other. And you're limiting fans and all that kind of stuff. That would make things a lot easier and a lot safer. But I don't know if the NCAA is going to do that or not. They don't always do the right thing, in my opinion.
Well, the NCAA doesn't do the right thing a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Obviously, we'll have tournament talk next week. Also, it's going to be a busy week next week.
It is, yeah, definitely.
Because we'll have tournament talk, because the conference tournaments have started now. Right now, in the ACC quarterfinals, you have North Carolina leading Virginia Tech right now. But like here's a perfect example though. If North Carolina is sitting at 18-9, and Virginia Tech sitting at 15-6.
Right. I just, and that's why I look at the tournament this year and I wonder. So all these teams are playing totally different amount of games, and what is it? I mean, everybody questions the committee anyway. So this year it's going to be like, well, how did this team get in, or how did that team get in?
Right.
I'd be really curious to see what these guys have to say when they start talking about, how a team that has like 10 less games managed to get in against some other team. I mean, what are they going to say?
Right.
Wow, they had a better strength of schedule. Was that just for the games that they played, or I mean, what are you basing this on?
Well, exactly. That's a big issue that's going to have to come up. So kind of still saying in the COVID realm, Major League Baseball is going to have major issues with COVID. I'm just going to say this. It came out, I think I read the article yesterday, so I'm not sure when the announcement came out.
Right.
And I get it that, and I understand people's frustrations with wanting to get back to normal and open things up.
Sure.
And I'm all for that if we do it smart, and slowly increase capacities in places and things like that. But the Texas Rangers have taken this to a whole new level. They announced full capacity at home games this year.
Oh, man.
I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean,
why not? Why not? Just go for it. Swing for the fences, right?
This is strictly a ploy by the Rangers to make money.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's money driven.
Yeah. And like you said, Coach, long time ago in one of our shows, you said if you leave it open and you say fans can come, people will come.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We don't usually talk about, a lot of political. We've talked some more political about politics and stuff this last week than we've had in a long time, just because there's some crazy things
There's a lot of crazy stuff with that. Yeah, we try to avoid it as much as we possibly can. The COVID stuff kind of gets into it, and the politics kind of gets into it a little bit too.
I am one that if I had to, if you'd give me a choice whether I wear a mask or not, if I go somewhere, I'm probably not going to wear it because I'm one of those people. I'm kind of a Darwinist. If I get sick and die, I was just meant to be sick and die.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, if everything points to you should wear it, and be smart about it. You should limit sizes of groups and things like that. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Again,
yeah.
You look at these other places that are opening up, but they're saying, okay, we're gonna start with the court with 25% capacity and kind of see if we have any outbreaks from our events, and then if we don't, we'll increase it. Okay, I'm okay with that, but just saying, no, we're done.
Flip it wide open.
Yeah. We're done.
I agree. I mean, this is a smart way of doing it. Just open it up and say, okay, we have 60,000, so let's do 12,000 people and just see how that goes.
Well, and here's the thing. Why don't you if you're a Major League Baseball team, you rarely have sellouts.
Right.
Okay. Maybe
week.
Opening day and then the playoffs. Other than that, unless you're like a top tier team, you are not selling out a game.
Right.
So,
and like I said, usually during the week, those are games that are not always full. Yeah.
So why wouldn't you do this? And I think this would be a really smart way for Major League Baseball teams to do it. You could still make enough money, have fans in your stands, but you take your average attendance from 2019 and say that's going to be our max capacity.
Mm-hmm.
That's our max capacity. Well, and then as the season goes on, you can evaluate it and be like, okay, cases are going down, everything's still going down, things are still good. All right, we're going to increase it a little bit. But
and as the season wears on, more people will have vaccines, and maybe you change things. I mean,
right. But yeah,
evaluate it. Yeah,
I just can't believe it. Major League Baseball is really just they're.
Well, and we talked about them before, and they had a ton of COVID issues before, and it was difficult, I think, in a lot of situations for them to be able to figure this thing out. We didn't even know if they were going to have a season.
Right.
We talked about that, and for some way, somehow they managed to, but they had a ton of issues before. Now they're just kind of setting themselves up for having some more. I mean, it's amazing to me, but yet at the same time, I think they're looking at it and saying, oh, well, monetarily, we need to have a certain number of people. We lost money last year. We need to fix that. And no, it's all about the money. Well, great. But what happens if you have a lot of problems within the first couple of weeks and you get a shutdown because you have a ton of people that are getting sick?
Right.
Well, then you're not making money anyway. So Good job on that.
So sticking with Major League Baseball real quick. So the Major League Baseball is going to be experimenting rules with the minor leagues. I don't know if you read this article.
I didn't, no.
Which this first one just needs to be done. It needed to be done already in Major League Baseball, not experimented in the minor leagues. Is that they're in the minor leagues, they're going to be using an electronic strike zone. So I don't know how it's actually going to work, but I don't know if it's because there's a lot of neat things. I'm bringing a lot of technology into our weight room now. We're probably like one of the most technologically advanced weight rooms in our area, maybe even in northern Wisconsin, with the stuff that we do. But I'm pretty sure you can set up a laser system where if the ball is in that system or outside of that area, there's an alert and it's a ball or a strike, which I kind of like because there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's not a person saying, well, I think it's this, I think it's this. I want to see that technology, but what I like is they're going to be using a 15-second pitch clock.
Okay. All right.
That should have already been in the major leagues. And if you want to make it 20 seconds, I'm okay with that. When you can sit there, somebody hits the ball, gets out, you can go take a number 2 in the bathroom and come out, and they have yet to make a pitch on the next guy. There's something wrong with the game.
I think this has been a criticism, at least for a lot of people, I think, for Major League Baseball for a long time. It's so long. I mean, you sit there and there's no activity, and everybody's standing around waiting for the pitch to happen. Everybody's waiting for it. And I know traditional baseball people will look at this and they'll be like, oh my God, you can't change it. Baseball has to change with the times. They need to get the casual fan. Casual fans are not interested in watching the pitcher move his glove up and down, wrinkle his nose, wait.
Get all these signs and stuff. I don't care.
Oh, and then, no, wait, no. Oh, okay, I thought he was going to pitch. Nope. Okay, now.
Oh, he set up. He's right about to pitch. Oh, nope, he stepped off. Had to go back to the rosin bag. What the? Just pitch the freaking ball.
Just throw it. Yeah, I agree. Like a shot clock. Here's your pitch clock.
Exactly.
Yep, I agree.
Because I think if you could get a baseball game down to about 2 hours, your attendance would explode. I will not take my kids to a Major League Baseball game because it's just so freaking long.
It's forever, right? Yeah.
I mean, I've been offered Twins tickets tons of times because I have a couple of people that I know that have season tickets. They're like, yeah, we can't go. $10 a ticket. Okay. No, I'm not going all the way over there to sit there for 4 hours. And it's not even a covered stadium, so if it starts raining, now we're sopping wet. At least if you go to like a Brewer game, they close the top.
Right, then you're good, yeah.
The other thing, and this one makes sense, is limiting. I think it's limiting the amount of pickoff moves that
I saw that in the low A here. Yeah. Yep.
a pitcher could take on a batter or in an inning. I like that. Because how many times you sit there and they throw to first like 6 times before they make a pitch? For Christ's sake.
You get 2 chances and that's it. And I think that's another thing that will also speed up the game.
Right.
Again, same thing like you just said. Make this thing go a little faster. You get your 2 chances and that's it. The guy starts leading off. Well, too bad. You got to throw the pitch.
I mean, look at NFL games, how fast they move.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people watch it.
Right. I mean, the society that we live in now, and you could say it's good or it's bad. The pace is just a little bit faster. It's just that's how it is. So the game itself is a baseball. It's not at that pace. Now, granted, it's not going to make it move super rapid, but all of these things will make the pace quicken and will make it a little more interesting from the standpoint of it gets closer to where you get the action and the meat of the game.
Right.
And maybe some of the cerebral part of baseball is being lost because of that, but I don't think it's going to intrinsically destroy the fundamental,
here's the thing.
part of baseball. I don't think it's going to do that.
You either need to adjust the rules or your game's dead.
Right, exactly.
Period. The last one, larger bases. Why? I mean, I don't get that one.
I mean, they talked about
I don't want to get too
rate of stolen bases.
I don't want to get too involved in that. That's stupid. Leave the bases the way they are. The other one quick thing that I don't really like is that they're going to mandate all the infielders, both feet are on the infield dirt.
Yeah.
Stupid. Teams should be able to set their defense however they want. Find other ways.
I agree.
Find other ways to increase the speed of the game. Don't sit there and dictate teams how they can play defense. You're starting to make it into like an all-star game then.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. I don't like the fact that you are trying to limit that. It's that to me that's not changing the pace of the game at all. So I mean, if this is really the focus and you want to change the pace of the game, then make rule changes that do that. This doesn't really do that, and it's limiting the teams. So I don't like it either. I agree.
So that is Major League Baseball. We'll be having opening day coming up here shortly. So
yeah, pretty soon.
Things will pick up quickly there. Moving on to the NBA here real quick before we get to the final topic I'd like to hit on because I think it's interesting. We talked about it a few weeks ago, but I think we need to hit on it more. It's starting to really become a big time issue. But the NBA here, right now, Blake Griffin signing with the Nets.
Yep.
Are the Nets the team to beat in the NBA now?
Absolutely. They're the best team in the league.
Are they the best team ever?
Well, clearly it's the best big three ever.
According to Jay Williams, they're the best.
Jay Williams. No, I think this is one of those, like they needed to shore up a few things, so they brought in Blake Griffin, but I don't know that it makes them immeasurably better. It makes them, to me, I think it makes them a little better. Blake Griffin is not the same player he used to be either, so I think people, when they looked at this signing, some people anyway, were looking at it and like, wow, this really improves them. Now they're the team in the East to beat. And I wouldn't say that. I still think you have a 3-horse race with the Bucks and the Sixers in the East, but I don't think it makes them the dominant favorite. I do not feel that way, even with this signing.
Now, if you would have told me you're getting Blake Griffin from like 4 or 5 years ago,
right?
Absolutely. Right. They would be unstoppable. This is a guy who's at the tail end of his career,
right?
Who's had multiple injuries. I mean, I remember watching some highlights of the Pistons and Bucks last year, and he could barely get up and down the court anymore. You know, he is not that player that's going to come and give you 30 minutes a game. He's not going to do that. So if that's what they're hoping for,
that is not going to happen. That's what
it's not happening.
He's at the tail end of his career.
You know, and here's the thing, and this is what I think people are forgetting. That people are looking at the names. Looking at the names. And I remember, and I'm not saying this is the same as the Nets roster, but I remember like when the Bucks had Glenn Robinson and they signed Peyton, and they had all the names.
Right.
They went to the Eastern Conference Finals one time. The names aren't going to get you there. Okay, they're not going to get you there. You look at this roster: Kevin Durant 32, Blake Griffin 31, James Harden 31, Kyrie Irving 28. Okay, so he's still technically in his prime.
Yep.
Of his career.
Yep.
Okay. If you're over 30 and a NBA player, you're old. Am I off on this, Lone Wolf?
No, not at all. I mean,
I'm not a basketball fan. I don't
an exception to the rule, but for the most part, no, it's true.
You know, I'm not a big basketball fan, so I don't follow basketball a lot. But I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I kind of know the human body, and just know that as you get older, your body breaks down. And isn't Kevin Durant dealing with a leg issue right now?
He is, and that was the other thing I was going to say is they brought this team together, and Kevin Durant. I mean, he's had some durability issues, so I wonder about him. He's a great player, but I wonder about him as they move forward. And yeah, like you said, bring in a name. It looks great, like wow, this guy, but it's not necessarily going to turn out the way you think it's going to. It looks great on paper, sounds great in the media, but yeah, again, I don't think that makes him immeasurably better. So
I mean, yeah, he's going to help them out. He's probably better than what they had on their roster.
I think so. Yeah, and that's why I said just they'll get a little bit better because of it.
But I mean. I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, I don't buy it, and I don't think they were. I don't know if they thought they needed something from a standpoint where they needed some help in terms of having another guy. I don't know what they thought he was going to be.
Well, what this tells me is that they know that their current roster
isn't good enough to win the whole thing, for sure.
Can't stay healthy.
Well, that too, yeah.
They aren't going to be able to stay healthy. That's what I'm reading right now. I mean,
well, and look, defensively, they just aren't very good. And I don't think this signing, Blake Griffin, helps you defensively.
No,
not really. I mean. He may help possibly in the rebounding category. They're average. Defensively, they're a lot better than offensive as far as rebounds are concerned. So maybe you put him in there and maybe that's what you're looking for. But defensively, they're really bad. They're 26th in the league. So that's not going to help you with it. This isn't going to be that cure for you.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, the Bucks aren't much better. They're 19.
No, and they need to do something to fix that if they want to win this thing. I mean, that is a problem.
I mean, they did demolish the Knicks tonight.
Well,
but hey,
it's a quality team. They're 7th in the East.
As I said, the Knicks right now are a playoff team, man.
Yeah, it's funny because we talked about the East before and we talked about the NBA, And things have just it changes constantly in the East. Like the West, it's a little more consistent. The East, we were laughing. We were talking about some of these teams, and then we're saying if you're a Celtics fan, you're worried. Well,
No.
we were talking about that before. Now they're the 4 seed.
I know.
It does, and then we're talking about the Hawks. The Hawks can't afford to lose more games. Now they're the 8th seed.
Well, and the sad thing here is the Celtics are the 4 seed at 19 and 18.
And 18, I know. Which really tells you that none of these teams, I mean, if you're the Raptors, the Pacers, the Bulls, you got to look at this and say, guess what? We're not out of it.
No.
We're right there.
No. You have right now, like you said, all the way through the Bulls, 3 other teams that are they're all tied for the 8th spot.
Well, the Pacers and the Bulls are tied. They have less
And the
games,
Raptors.
but they're tied. And the Raptors, yeah. Yep.
So
record-wise tied with the Hawks. Yeah, I mean, I just look at it and it's like, okay, so really there's only a couple of teams in the East that are out of it. So
I'll tell you what, I remember when we did our which team would you pick?
Right.
I'm looking like one smart dude. Phoenix Suns have won 4 in a row. They're only 2.5 games out of the first spot in the West.
Yeah,
that was my team.
They have surprised me because I thought that they were going to be very much improved. I had picked the Hawks, and the Hawks are definitely improved. I mean, right now they're in the playoffs. And I thought they would be on the cusp or, in there. But the Suns, I thought they'd be in the mix. But to be where they are right now,
I didn't think they would be doing what they're doing.
Right.
I thought they would be around 500 in the playoffs hunt. I thought they were a year or two away from being kind of where they're at. But hey, that's why I said, Lone Wolf, you're our NBA person. You're our basketball person.
Don't short sell yourself. That was a pretty good pick there, Coach.
Again, that's looking at statistics and contracts, Lone Wolf.
Right. But I gotta say, I mean, one reason why I think the Suns are in that position, and there's a couple things, but one big reason why is defensively they play so well.
Right.
And if you have that from a team, sometimes you look at it and you say, oh, we might not be scoring as much as we'd like, but if you're holding teams and you're playing defense as a team well, that's a good foundation to start from, and then move forward from there. Plus, I think Chris Paul is a good floor general, and he runs things well for you. You don't have to expect him to score a ton of points. He still scores, but I don't think, they were looking at him and saying, okay, we need you to be the principal scorer for this squad. And he's not. I mean, he's averaging 16 points a game. He's not a slouch, but he doesn't have to go out and get you 30. He has to run the team, and he's averaging almost 9 assists a game. So, I mean, the guy is doing what you brought him there to do.
Right.
So,
all right.
The only other thing I'll say about the NBA before we move on is, when I looked at the All-Star game and I saw how they picked the teams and the Jazz players were picked last, I just have to say I'm tired of this disrespect to the Utah Jazz. They're still in first place in the West, which is the tougher conference. So, I mean, they're a good team. There's a reason they're in first place. And at the end of the year, if the Jazz end up, making the Western Conference Finals or making the NBA Finals, the joke's going to be on everybody else. I think the Jazz have the ability to do it, and I'm tired of these other teams or other people, LeBron, disrespecting the Jazz.
Yeah, and that's, that's just the way the NBA landscape is. That's how it's always been. It's always, unless you are a big market player, you're going to be looked at as kind of an underling, not good. So, I'm not saying that's right, but that's unfortunately how it is. So, I do want to get your thoughts on this. Again, it kind of leads into our last story, a little more on it's not political, it's cultural activities going on in the world. Want to get your thoughts on the Heat's player Myers Leonard for making a anti-Semitic slur while playing Call of Duty on Twitch. I don't know if you read that story.
Yeah, I looked at that. Yeah.
I'm not going to repeat the slur, but it is a name for a derogatory phrase for a Jewish individual.
Sure.
I listened to it, the clip a couple times.
Well, and there's a few other words in his comment
Yeah,
that
but
were also inappropriate for the
right,
for our
but that's
show.
the big one. That's the
Right.
big one. He was banned from team activities for a week, fined $50,000. I get it. It's not right to use that terminology and things like that. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying it's appropriate to say, but when did we lose the sensibility of apologizing?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody apologizes, they're remorseful for what they said, and we move on. Well, when did we lose that sensibility as a society that we can no longer do that?
Well, and I think part of the problem is people look at it and they may say they don't feel like that person is remorseful. And I don't know if they do or they don't. I mean, I don't know this guy, so I have no idea. But yeah, he came out, he talked to the Anti-Defamation League, he publicly apologized. The league, it looks like, fined him $50,000 and suspended him for a week for his comment. I guess, to me, here's the thing, and there's some sensitivity about certain things that people say more than others, so if he would have left that slur out of it, then this probably wouldn't even be a story. I mean, he said a bunch of swear words while he was playing a video game. Who doesn't do that? But he used that word, and then all of a sudden it became this. And I mean, there's a lot of sensitivity to that because of some long-standing anti-Semitism and what happened during World War II. So I understand why people feel that way. It was pretty horrific. So when I look at this is what I think. Is he really radically that way, or did he just use that because he's used that word before and he slipped it into a string of profanities? He probably didn't really think a whole lot about it when he said it. It's probably more like that, and I'm not saying he shouldn't be sorry for it, but I don't think it was one of those like, he's I don't feel like he's one of those people who's, and I don't know him personally, but it just didn't feel like in reading that he's so anti-Jewish that he's making these comments all the time, or posting them all the time, or saying these things all the time. It's like it may be something that he may have kind of said, but I don't know. I mean, I don't want to string him up on a tree. Let's just put it that way. Yeah.
And that's how I feel. I get it that these things shouldn't be said.
Right.
I'm getting worn out by it though. It's like it's every time we turn around something. So I teach Phi Ed. So if somebody all of a sudden starts bashing Phi Ed teachers, can I get offended by this and demand that they get fired from their job, or there's a penalty for them? Or whatever, just anything these days sets people off, and we go so far to wanting a punishment without first at least hearing the apology. Now, if you sit there and say, okay, they apologize, but that did not sound like he was okay, then fine. then take it that next step. But let's get that first initial thing instead of just right away, boom, this is what we're done.
Right.
I have a problem with that because I'll tell you right now, there are, and we're not going to go through it, but you can read articles and watch any news outlet and listen to protests and stuff and listen to the slurs that people are calling other individuals.
Right.
And nothing's said. So it's kind of like it's a one. It should be a equal across the board, and it's not. And that's where my issues comes into play when
there needs to be. I mean, look, this kind of language, I mean, everything else that he said, it people get frustrated while they're playing video games, and I get it. So when he's saying that kind of stuff, I guess using that word obviously is unacceptable, but I don't feel like he said it where he's again saying it because this is he's horribly anti-Semitic and he'll say these things all the time. It just didn't feel that way. I felt like he slipped it in there. He said something like that probably before in private. Didn't think a lot about it. And he met voluntarily with the Anti-Defamation League.
Right.
The team, the league, they didn't force him to do that. So I think he actually took the steps that he needed to take. But yeah, you're right. I mean, as soon as somebody does or says something now in our current situation in society, it's like, wow, what are we going to do about this? I mean, are we going to throw them in the ocean to be eaten by sharks, or what's our first choice here?
Right.
They're too ready to say, guilty. You can't apologize because it'll never be good enough, and that's it. I mean, you got to give people a chance to say, and it depends on the act too.
Right.
But,
well, yeah.
In this case, I just
if he would have kept going on and kept saying those things repeatedly during the whole thing, that's a totally different. It was a one-time thing. And yes, I know the other stuff was inappropriate, but it's like, look, if we're going to sit there and penalize everybody for swearing, oh my Lord, you better cancel every single piece of pop and rap music out there right now.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you have a song called WAP, which I'm just going to say it, wet ass pussy.
Yeah.
Seriously? That's okay, but you can't swear at a video game. I don't.
Right? Yeah.
Again,
it's the level of what you're doing and how far you're going to take it.
Right.
So I think this is that kind of story. You look at it, you say, he needs to be sorry for it. He was sorry for it. It's not acceptable behavior, but he apologizes. He gets penalized for it, and now we move on.
So this leads me into the second part of the conversation, and that is a couple weeks ago we talked about a presidential executive order stating that states must allow trans women, so boys that I'm not even going to say are transition, that identify as female.
Right.
You must allow them to participate in women's sports. Well, lots of states are passing legislation banning the transgender females or males, if you're a female transitioning to male.
Sure, right, yep.
From participating against, I'm gonna use transgender
that other
female because I have yet to see a female transition to a male competing against a male. I haven't seen it. If they're out there, please let me know and so I can see it. I've never read anything about it.
Right.
Passing legislation banning that, which we talked about this. I think we're both in support of that because biologically you can't change your biology.
Right.
You can't change your biology. Males are always going to have male chromosomes. Females are always going to have female chromosomes. Just because you're transitioning and you identify as a female doesn't mean you are a female.
Yeah.
I think if you have the right steps, you have the doctors, you're at a certain stage of the transition, you're on these hormone blockers, and your testosterone levels measure within a certain range, which would be normal for a biological female, then I'm okay with you competing against females. But there needs to be certain standards you have to meet.
I agree. I mean, I think, for me, Coach, I look at it from the standpoint of, and we talked about this, look at it objectively. If you said person A and person B, and you didn't know anything else about them other than statistics, like this person is this height and weight and can run this fast and whatever else, and then this person can do this, you'd say, okay, this person out of this category has an unfair advantage over the rest of these people based on just looking at statistics. And then you leave the gender, you leave all these other issues out of it. But then once you bring that in, then it becomes an issue.
Right.
So
where I'm going with that is that we hashed through this for a long time that night.
Yeah.
Well, now a group of about 550 NCAA athletes are petitioning the NCAA to ban NCAA tournament games from being played in states where this type of legislation is being passed.
Okay. So now they don't want to play in those states at all. Just saying we're going to penalize those states. We're not even going to appear there.
That's what they want the NCAA to do. So like right now, Wisconsin doesn't have that legislation, and I don't know if they ever will. But I know it's not a hot topic in my area, but I know it's going to be a growing topic because we are for my school district, we're near the cities, and we're kind of we're rural. So if a family has a trans student and they aren't being treated well in the cities, they'll come to the rural communities.
Sure. Yeah.
And we haven't really had these discussions with as coaches and as an athletic department, but students have asked me my opinion, and I've given them my opinion that if you have something from a doctor and they're doing X, Y, and Z, okay, fine. But if a male comes in and says, I'm going to identify as a female, I'm sorry, I am going to strongly disagree that they should be going into the girls' locker room.
Right.
Okay. But so we'll use Wisconsin. Say Wisconsin passes this legislation.
Sure.
And the NCAA, routinely, the NCAA will have March Madness games in Milwaukee.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, if they would follow this petition, they wouldn't be able to host any NCAA tournament events in the state of Wisconsin.
Right.
Somebody did the math online for like all NCAA athletes. I think it was like 0.05%. So it's like what is like such a small percentage of athletes that are against this stuff.
Right. And I don't want it to be a situation where you say, well, the minority doesn't get any voice whatsoever. But I'll tell you what I think right now. And this is the simple reality of the situation. I'm not trying to be mean to these people, but what is the NCAA going to care about? And we've criticized the NCAA about all the time. They care about money.
Right.
So you think that they're not going to play those games in those states? Of course they are. They don't care. They want to have the money. So I'm not trying to be callous. It's just, and again, like I've said, we have criticized the NCAA up and down, left and right about being greedy and money hungry. Well, in this situation, they're going to say a lot of nice things, but they're not going to avoid it because they want the money of having those games.
Right. And I have a hard time that we're going this far with this. I just, man, I understand where people are coming from with it. They want everybody to be treated fairly.
Yep.
But if we are going to take the percentage of transgender athletes in the entire country, and I don't know what that percentage would be. I don't think anybody has an accurate percentage of what that would be.
Right.
Compared to the percentage of female athletes in this country, who has a higher chance of being negatively impacted in that situation?
Mm-hmm.
The transgender athletes or the female athletes? I have a hard time. You're gonna have a hard time convincing me that the female athletes will not be negatively impacted by going up against a transgender female that has not gone through all the hormone therapy and has a higher testosterone level than they do.
Right. I mean,
And we talked about this
that's why
before.
people in the Olympics, when females are
Right.
taking testosterone and things like that, are banned from
Right.
competing.
Right.
That's why they get kicked out.
And I get it that the transgender athletes they just have a natural higher level of testosterone, but that's why they have the hormone blockers,
Right.
and that's why you can take estrogen, and you can decrease that testosterone in your body.
It's a simple competitive advantage. I mean,
Right.
That's how I'm looking at it from that standpoint. And I think the other thing, in this situation is, and I think we talked about this before, that women have fought for such a long time to be able to get to the point where they're even getting respect and getting the sports that they need and getting the opportunities they deserve. And I was just reading an article, and this is a little off, but not totally on subject, about women trying to create a hockey league that was a professional league. And they've been really pushing for it and really trying. So they're still fighting that fight when you have some really phenomenal players in the U.S. and Canada that would be great in a women's hockey league. But they still can't get that done. So when you do something like this, I think this is going to be really damaging to women's sports.
Right, I agree that you're going to do more damage than good in this. And if all of a sudden we go down the road and we see the research and everything and the statistics show, holy cow, there is a huge number of transgender athletes, then it's fine. Let's make a third classification.
Mm-hmm.
That's
maybe you just have to compete based on how you perform, based on the criterion. I mean the criteria. Maybe you have to do that, and gender doesn't come into it, and and if that's the case, then I mean most of those people probably will be competing with men as opposed to women. I don't know.
Well, and we brought this up in the other conversation. You look at the research that the small sample research they had with this is that there have been transgender females, so they were male in college, and they were at the bottom of the lists for results in track and field when they were competing as a male. The next season they came back, they transitioned to being a female, and they were winning.
Right. And I mean,
I'm sorry, you can't tell me that that's a positive thing. You can't tell me that.
It's absolutely not. It's absolutely not. I don't think it is, and I don't think you should switch over to something else just because it gives you a better chance at winning. And people might disagree with me on that, but it's not good for the women that are all losing now because of something that happened.
I mean, let's take sport out of it for a second here.
Sure.
Say we have a podcast and trying to grow it, and this, and all of a sudden we get there's a business grant out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's only for females. Well, what's stopping one of us filling out an application? Say, well, we identify as a female.
Right.
You have to now give us that grant over these hardworking female individuals that are doing the same, trying to do the same type of thing we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because we said, oh, one of us is now transgender, we're female, we're just taking money away from a hardworking businesswoman.
Yeah. Because of that. Right?
Because of what people want, equality. I don't think that's fair.
I think one other issue, Coach, is you look at this, and I think that there are some people who, you were mentioning this, who maybe taking advantage of the system by doing something like this, where they're not successful, so then they don't transition. That's the thing. They just identify as the other gender, and they may say they have some characteristics or what have you, but they haven't gone through the therapy, and they go and they compete at that other level just to succeed. Well, now to me, you have another issue where you have some very legitimate situations. People, maybe they don't have enough money, or they really are actually physically closer to that other gender, or they're trying to transition, and you're making it more difficult for that person because you are doing this and giving the whole situation, casting it in a bad light. So you're actually hurting other people who are legitimately trying to transition, because you're just doing it because you want to win.
Right. So again,
I feel bad for them.
wanted to bring this up because I thought it was interesting that, like I said, this is becoming a very, very
it's a hot topic
around the nation, because I think more and more states are going to just pass their local legislation. And it's funny, I'm talking to some people, and they're like, well, we're a democracy, and what, it's an executive order, so states have no. We're a union. The states are supposed to be governed independently. And
I mean, the federal government is not a dictatorship.
Right.
So they can say certain things, but they don't have proclamations where everybody just has to follow exactly what they say.
Right.
States
Exactly.
can still make decisions about what they want to do inside their own individual states.
Right. And I think people are forgetting about this, is that the federal government is supposed to be there to protect us from outside forces. That's what the federal government was designed to do.
Originally, yeah. I mean, obviously they've expanded on that over time, but but still,
it's amazing to me with that. So, but I thought that was interesting. This is only going to get, I think, more and more interesting. And it was funny because I did tell a couple of people that were asking me about it at school one day, and they said something. I said, well, like right now, if our state said you have to do this, I'm going over to the Twin Cities, and I'm finding all the transgender athletes I can and give them to transfer over to my school, because we'll have one heck of a track team. Play within the rules, Lone Wolf. You play within the rules that are given.
And you know what? Some people may criticize for that, but everybody does that right now. Everybody recruits. They just do. So you can say whatever you want, but that's exactly what people do.
And if you're telling me I have to follow those rules, I have to allow those athletes to compete with the female athletes,
right?
And a coach goes and does that, okay, then it is what it is. Nothing we can do about it.
No, I mean, I can't criticize somebody for recruiting within the rules.
Right. So
criticize people for recruiting outside the rules, because they do that all the time.
Right.
It should be within the rules.
So we're getting up to time here.
Yep.
So I do have a Beavis comment of the week.
Okay. All right.
This is a good one. So first, of course, we have to have our intro music.
Hello? Hello, do we have everybody? Let's see, is Butthead here? Look, Beavis, I'm right here. Oh, yeah, there you are. So, we're making a movie.
All right. So, here we go.
Is going to be my quarterback of my team. And it felt like last night that the heavens opened, and out of heaven fell a deal that I am very comfortable with for both sides because we are back in business. Now, to the question at hand. First of all, there's no more bad blood between Jerry and Dak.
It better not be.
There better not be. So it was up to Jerry to olive branch this to make Dak feel like he got the deal that he wanted.
All right. So it's not one of the better Beavis comments, but can you name the person?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, this is Skip and Shannon. That's Skip. I obviously recognize that. Yeah, definitely.
And I could let this play out the next 5 minutes, and oh my Lord, Skip Bayless talking about the Cowboys are back in business, and that they are going to go to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, Skip. No.
What are you smoking, Skip?
What are you on, buddy?
Because it's funny.
I didn't listen to that, and so I'm hoping that Shannon put him in his place at some point.
He puts him in his place before he even goes, because the show starts with Skip Bayless pulling out a Dak Prescott jersey.
Yeah.
And Shannon going, "You're still not going to the playoffs." So
good. Because Skip, this is, I mean, he's made some really, I don't say awful comments, but he's made some comments that I don't really agree with.
The heavens opened and
the heavens opened. That's really over the top,
I mean, and this is nothing against Dak Prescott.
No, not at all.
He got paid the money that he deserved to get paid for the current market. No problem with that.
Yep.
My problem is these people all of a sudden now saying that the Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, last time I checked, they paid less money for Dak Prescott last year, and they didn't make the playoffs. So now you pay him more money, and you think you're going to the Super Bowl? I don't see where the logic falls in there. Like, why all of a sudden you had Dak this whole time?
And that's the thing. You had to pay him. Right. You didn't have it.
I mean, and they should have paid him a long time ago.
Right.
But yeah, this whole thing.
So it's like everybody's shocked that that oh my God, we're fine. No, you knew that he was going to get paid. It was just a matter of when and how much.
Right.
So
it isn't the best one we've had, but it certainly is a Beavis comment. There's no question there. Yeah.
That is the Beavis comment of the week. Anything else you would like to talk about here? We got about 5 minutes before.
No, I think we're good for tonight, Coach. Yeah.
So, well, thank everybody for listening. Thanks for Brandon for calling in. As we grow here a little bit, hopefully we can do some more. I know Podbean here is kind of changing up some features. I don't have to type in your email address anymore to invite you. You're actually saved in here. I just hit the invite button now, which is kind of nice. So maybe, and I don't know what your tech is, but we get you on the computer doing this instead of your phone. You'd be able to access the control panel and let people in too if I don't see it. Because I know that happens a lot because I'm on different websites and you pay more attention to the chat than I do.
Trying to keep an eye on it, make sure that people come in making comments. Just want to make sure that all listeners are engaged and stuff. So yeah, definitely.
But thank you everybody for participating tonight. We're gonna have a busy week starting this coming week. We have NCAA tournament talk. We have NFL free agency. We have Major League Baseball starting up. So
yeah, there's a lot going on.
Buckle in and get ready. This is the fun time of year. This is probably the most fun that I have is the free agency and the draft and stuff. The season, it's always fun, but
this stuff is great. Yeah,
definitely. This is the stuff I like. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, have a good night.
They won't tell me what to believe in. Hey, so fake bold, same old, say so, fake bold, facts don't wonder why it isn't working. That's like sleeping with a football team to try and be a virgin. Politicians are for sale and someone always makes the purchase. But you and I cannot afford it. Our democracy is worthless. If a man has mental illness, call him crazy. Say it silently. When country's going crazy, we accept it as society. Get sick and take a pill. When the side effects get you high, you get addicted like these rappers dying fighting with sobriety.